Hi, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about practicing self compassion. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about is stress. When we criticize ourselves, we are actually tapping into our body's threat defense system, our fight or flight or freeze response. So, this is our reptilian brain that reacts instinctively, and this is quickly and easily triggered. So, this is why self criticism is usually our first automatic reaction when things go wrong. And the really difficult and sad thing about this is that when you self criticize or self judge, or you're mean to yourself, you're both the attacker and the attacked. And when this triggers this response in us, it releases cortisol and adrenaline because this is what we need if we actually needed to fight, run away, or freeze. So, this feeling of feeling threatened, even by yourself, puts added stress on your mind and your body. And if you do this often, then the chronic stress can lead to anxiety and depression. And this is why habitual self criticism is so hard on us and bad for your physical body, your emotional self, your mental self, as well as your spiritual self. So, luckily, we have evolved beyond our reptilian brain. We have this mammalian brain where our care system is activated. And when we treat ourselves with care and kindness, compassion, patience, understanding, we activate this care system. And then oxytocin and endorphins are released instead, which increases our feelings of safety and security. So these are the three steps to self compassion: awareness, kindness, and common humanity. And you can remember this with the acronym CATCH: kindness, awareness, common humanity. It also works because when you're feeling upset, when you're feeling stressed, when you need to motivate yourself, remember to catch yourself. So, what is the first step? Awareness, being aware of what's going on inside of you and around you. So, it's asking yourself, what do I feel and where do I feel it in my body? So, if you're feeling stressed out, maybe you have something that you need to get accomplished and you're feeling worried and anxious about getting it done, and you start to berate yourself. Why do I do this to myself? Why do I procrastinate? I'm such an idiot. I should have done this. I should have done that. In that moment, pause, catch yourself. Awareness: what am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? I feel stress. I feel my heart pounding. I feel my breathing is shallow. I feel this pain in my back or my shoulders. You will know what you feel. It might be in your stomach, you might have a knot in your throat, you might have a headache, but begin to be aware of this instead of turning away from it, pushing it down, sweeping it under the rug, ignoring it, telling yourself you shouldn't be feeling that way. Just start with acceptance. Start with being aware of what's going on and sitting with it long enough to be able to then offer yourself some kindness. So once you are aware, okay, I'm feeling stressed. I feel it in my chest. I feel this. Okay. So then you want to offer yourself kindness, saying something like, you got this. You're going to be okay. It's better to start now than not at all. And just anything that you want to say to yourself that's mean, that's not helpful, let it go and get out of that habit. Don't do it. One great way to think about this is, how would you speak to a 6-year-old version of yourself, or a child, or a niece, or a little girl that comes to you and she says, oh, I'm so stressed and I can't do this thing? And you would probably first touch her in some way, pat her head, put your arm around her, pat her back, and say, it's okay. You got this. Let's sit down. Let's take it one little step at a time and we'll figure this out. And then the third step to self compassion is common humanity. And this is two different aspects. One is, you're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have disappointments. You're going to suffer at certain times in your life. It's normal and it makes sense and it's okay. The other piece with common humanity is you don't have to be alone. You don't have to push everybody away and suffer in silence. And what's really amazing about these three steps is that they counteract our fight, flight, or freeze response. So, awareness, if you tend to freeze, you just shut down, you zone out. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go into that freeze mode because it's really hard to get things done and do what you need to do and get out of your negative rut or slump when you're frozen. So awareness is okay, I'm aware of what I feel. You might even move your body in some ways to counteract that freeze response. Notice what's going on. And then if you tend to fight, it's the kindness that replaces that. And sometimes working with the women that I've worked with, a lot of them don't go into fight right away, and yet they still fight with themselves. It's like you have found that it's safe. They're not, you're not going to beat yourself up. You're not going to go to an extreme, but even the harsh words that you say to yourself are a way of fighting and increasing that stress and making us less present and less capable of handling whatever it is that we're dealing with. And then if you tend to flee, if you run away from people, from things, if you want to hide out, that can be part of the flee stress response as well. So common humanity says, connect with people, talk to somebody, get support. You have people in your life, no matter what, you have someone, and I'm here for you during this process as well. You can reach out to each other. So these are the three steps. It's very simple in theory, but of course, harder to practice. If you want to read more about this and go more in depth, I highly recommend either one of these books. You can see they're both written by the same author, Kristin Neff. One of them is a book that's kind of like a self-help book that will walk you through the steps and the process. And the other is a workbook. So the workbook is great too. There's a lot of information in there, and there are several different exercises that you can do practicing self-compassion. And it's important to make this distinction that self-esteem is not the answer. A lot of women that come to me, they start by saying, I really need to improve my self-esteem. My self-esteem is just low. And what is self-esteem? It's actually feeling good about yourself and your own abilities. Synonyms to self-esteem include ego, pride, pridefulness, self-regard, self-respect. And one of the problems with self-esteem is that it often includes needing to feel special or above average compared to others. So self-esteem is often how you feel in comparison to others, and comparing yourself to others is not helpful, not a good feeling, not a good thing at all. If you follow people on social media, for example, that make you feel worse about yourself, unfollow them. Do it now. I promise you won't miss it. And chasing self-esteem has led to narcissism, constant comparison with others, judgment of yourself and others, feeling defensive, and just disappointment, feeling angry, frustrated, or let down. And the real problem with self-esteem, because if you have self-esteem in any moment, that's not a bad thing. Self-esteem is not the enemy. The only real problem is that self-esteem is contingent. It's there for us when we succeed, when we've accomplished something, when we've made a big step in a relationship or done well on some test. But when you're not feeling great about yourself, your self-esteem goes way down and it deserts you completely right in the time when you need it. It's like it kicks you when you're down. So this is why I encourage you to practice self-compassion. It is always there for you, no matter what you're going through, no matter how you're feeling. And even if your self esteem is low, you can still offer yourself self compassion. And with self compassion, your self worth doesn't require you to compare yourself with others or to be better than anyone else, or even that you meet your own specific expectations. You can have a big goal and fall a little bit short and still offer yourself kindness and compassion so that you can continue and you don't get stuck and fall down the downward spiral. And practicing self compassion eventually allows you to hold negative feelings and difficult events better. It actually makes you more resilient and able to accept whatever comes your way. Now, let's talk for a minute about the common barriers to self compassion. Why do most people not do this? Why can it be a difficult habit to create? Well, the first one is people often think, well, I don't want to have a self-pity party for myself. And it's actually the opposite. When you practice self-compassion, it allows you to be more level-headed and practical, and it allows you to think straight so that you don't go into a pity party. It also reminds you that everybody suffers sometimes. You're not alone. You're not the only one going through this. You don't have to wallow in it or exaggerate. And practicing self compassion also helps you be more compassionate with others and offer kindness and support and forgiveness, which are really helpful in your relationships. The other common barrier is people think that they have to be hard on themselves. But let me tell you, self criticism is not an effective motivator. It lowers your self confidence and it often leads to a fear of failure. And that's when you can really feel stuck. Self compassionate people still have very high standards and push themselves. They just don't get mean and put themselves down along the way. So, for example, if you're not happy with your body, you want to go to the gym and work out, instinctively, it might feel normal to say, oh, I look so fat, I look horrible, I have to go to the gym so that I look better. But that's not a great place to start. You're actually tearing yourself down before you even start. Instead, you want to motivate yourself in positive ways, and you want to start by loving yourself and having compassion for yourself just the way you are. So even if you're not at your ideal weight or ideal body, just start with compassion. You know what? I love my body. I appreciate my body. My legs work. I can walk. My heart beats. Find things that you can love and appreciate along the journey. If you just have conditional acceptance of yourself, it's like the carrot that dangles in front of you that you can never quite reach, and you might never get there. You might as well just grab that carrot and eat it now. Have the acceptance of yourself as you are, even though you want to get better, even though you want to improve and create new habits, whatever it is that you're after. You can't have this conditional, contingent acceptance that when you get that thing, when you reach that goal, finally, then you'll love yourself. Because the other part of that is that you're not in the habit of loving yourself. So even when you get to that place, you won't know how to do it. And this happens a lot. I've seen women that have had major transformations in their body. And when they look amazing, they still feel like that fat person from before, because that's the habit of self-talk and emotional feelings that are associated with it. So it's time to change your habits and how you look at yourself right now as you are. Another common barrier is people feel like, I don't want to make excuses for myself. If I'm too easy on myself, I'll just let myself get away with anything. But that's not true. It's like a compassionate, good parent doesn't let their kid lay in bed and eat cookies all day. They tell their kid, I love you and I want you to be healthy, so you need to eat your vegetables and then you can have a cookie, right? So this is how we can learn to talk to ourselves, to love and accept and be kind, but also be firm and have high standards. And then the fourth barrier I want to talk about is stories. Stories are all of our stories, like how things got to be the way they are. We tend to ruminate, overanalyze, worry about whatever it is that's happened, what was said, what could have been different, who was to blame, why this happened, why we are the way we are, all of this. And so with self-compassion, we want to practice taking a step back and looking at the big picture instead of getting hung up on all the little details about he did this and then he did this and then I thought this, and back up into what's the big picture here. How are you feeling? What do you want to feel? How can you get to a better place where you're feeling better? And when we practice the 3 steps of self-compassion, you are mindfully turning toward your pain and remembering that nobody's perfect. We're all human. And being imperfect and going through hard times and suffering is just part of the shared human experience. And it's important that we can be kind and supportive to ourselves, especially during times that are difficult. So, benefits of self-compassion. The first one is so huge that it actually counteracts our physical response to stress, our fight or flight or freeze response. So when you're in fight or flight, your sympathetic nervous system activates, and that's, your pupils dilate, your breathing gets shallow, your heartbeat increases, and we get cortisol and adrenaline. And those are not good for us on a sustained period of time. It's really not. So self-compassion instead triggers that emotional response, that care system response, the parasympathetic nervous system that calms us down. And we need to be calmed down out of that state so that we can act from a place of what's the next action I need to take, instead of the swirl and downward spiral of all the negative what ifs and whys and all of that. So practicing self-compassion reduces anxiety, depression, stress, and shame, while increasing our happiness, life satisfaction, self-confidence, and even our physical health. Practicing self-compassion just enhances our overall well-being. It teaches us to self-soothe and be in control of ourselves. Have you ever felt out of control of yourself, like your emotions are running the show? Yes, I know you have, because I have too. And this is such an important piece, to be able to bring yourself back down and get back in control. It improves our mental clarity and focus. Obviously, when you're in that swirl of negativity and self-doubt, you can't even think straight. You can't get anything done. You can't focus. Self-compassion also increases our ability to be accountable, to compromise, apologize, and forgive. All important parts of being in any relationship. It improves our ability to see multiple perspectives. And it makes us less likely to avoid our difficult emotions, disembody, or numb out. So if you're in the habit that when you start feeling bad, you look for something outside of you, this is very normal. We look to food. Oh, I'm so stressed, I need to eat. I'm so sad, I need to eat something. Or we go shopping and we get that little hit of dopamine because we've bought something, but then later when you look at your bank statement and realize, oh boy, maybe I shouldn't have bought that, it actually makes you feel worse in the end. Or there's other ways that we disembody and numb out, like drinking, drugs, getting stoned, even just zoning out on TV for hours at a time, and we've all done that. But again, this 3-step process of practicing self-compassion, instead of, oh, I feel bad, I have to go fix it by eating something or doing something, instead you sit with it, say, wow, what am I feeling? Oh, I feel this, I feel stressed. Okay, how can I offer myself some kindness, patience, understanding? All right, you know what? I love you. You're doing the best you can. You'll figure this out. You're only human. You are not a machine. You can't do everything. Let's just look at one little piece and one little thing that I can do. What do I need? And then you're able to give yourself what you need and be helpful and supportive instead of tearing yourself down, which makes everything actually harder. With self-compassion, we're less likely to ruminate or overanalyze or overthink or wallow in how bad things are. And because of the common humanity piece, it can lead to feeling more socially connected. When you're feeling bad, if you think, oh, well, I don't want to be a burden, don't worry about that. You don't have to go and call someone and tell them the stories. Remember, we talked about the stories that this happened and he said this and it made, like, let go of the details, call someone and just say what you're feeling. With your awareness, you already know what you're feeling. Hey, I'm just feeling really sad. I could really use some words of encouragement, but allow yourself to share that with someone. The people who love you love all those parts of you. And this is really interesting, but studies that they did around self-compassion actually showed that among people with diabetes, just practicing self-compassion helped them stabilize their glucose levels. So again, I say all the time that how you think, how you feel, and your physical body, it's all related. It's all interconnected. Your physical self will change when you change the way that you think and feel about yourself and how you treat yourself. I love this picture. Love who you are. Love who you are, exactly where you are in your current state, at your current weight, in your current job, in your current home. Stop waiting to accomplish something or be something else or change into something before you'll love yourself. It might never happen. And if you keep tearing yourself down along the way, you're going to see that it's really hard. So start with accepting and loving yourself right now, just as you are, being a kind and considerate friend to yourself. We are talking about your relationship with yourself. Your relationship is more than just how you feel. It's the actions you take, the words you use, and how you are treating yourself. Another important piece here is that you can offer yourself words of self-soothing and soothing touch. So here are some examples of soothing words that you can offer yourself. The first one is to say, I have feelings of blank rising up. So if you're feeling sad and you are just overwhelmed with sadness, instead of saying, I'm sad, I'm so sad, I'm a sad person, don't identify yourself as sad. Notice that you have a sad feeling. And emotions are like waves of the ocean. One comes and then it goes, and then another comes and then it goes. Your emotions do not stay forever. So if you're sad in the moment, it might feel like it's lasting forever, but you know from your past experience that it doesn't. Name the feeling and notice that the feeling is coming up, but don't identify yourself as that feeling. So you want to ask yourself, where do I feel it in my body? Remember that we are really interested in aligning our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual selves. So what you feel emotionally, you want to think about, where do I feel it in my body also? And you will identify that. You'll feel something somewhere. Say to yourself, I love you. I love you. How often have you said that? I really want you to start saying it multiple times a day. Just even if you don't believe it in the beginning, just start to do it. I love you. I'm here for you. You are doing the best you can. Look back and acknowledge your accomplishments. Look at how far you've come. Stop focusing all the time on what you haven't done and what's wrong with the situation. Start looking for things that you can love and accept about yourself. You can tell yourself, everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. This too shall pass. Remind yourself, you are smart, you are capable, you are resilient, you're strong, you're a survivor. And tell yourself, I'm proud of how far you've come. And ask yourself, what do I need right now? And then get it. So many times we count on our partners or other people in our lives to give us that hug that we need, or give us those kind words that we need, or to motivate us in something. But guess what? you can learn to do that for yourself. And then if someone else is also offering that, it's like icing on the cake. It's great, but you don't need to wait for someone else to do it. You can do it yourself. And the reason there's a picture of the mama cat and the kitten here is that they are great at soothing their kittens. They have the purring, which is like soothing words. They lick them, which is like soothing touch. So it might seem a little bit touchy feely at first. If it's new to you, it might feel a little uncomfortable, but just try placing both hands somewhere on your body, maybe one over your heart and one over your belly. You can put two hands over your heart. You can, gently stroke yourself, touch your skin. You can touch your neck, your face, your hair. If you think about the kind of feelings and touch that you enjoy getting from someone that you love or that you feel tenderness from, try doing it to yourself. And remember that part of this is also counteracting our stress response. So when you're stressed out and you're criticizing yourself, God, why did I do this? I always do this. It's so stupid. I hate myself. You're triggering your stress and cortisol and adrenaline and all of these not so helpful physical responses. This soothing touch, what else is here? Putting a hand on your cheek, cradling your face in your hands, stroking your arms. You can give yourself a hug, just even holding your hands in your lap or holding onto a pillow or a pet or any kind of comforting object. We need this. We are emotional beings. And as you've noticed, if you struggle with self-love, that there is often that tense, uncomfortable, stressed out feeling. And this act of just putting your hands on your own body, your own skin, and offering some kindness and soothing can really be a game changer. So now you've learned exactly what self-compassion is, and you've learned the 3 steps. Tomorrow, I will take you through a step-by-step practice that you can play anytime to guide you through the steps of practicing self-compassion. See you then.